I am live. Good evening, everyone. Our last broadcast before Thanksgiving. So let me see who is here with us. Um, Jamaican Black Queen. Hey again. I'm speaking into the universe and claiming that Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2023 will be in my own home. Yes. So our theme tonight is your last Thanksgiving as a renter and how we can strategize to make that happen in 2023. So super excited about tonight. Hello, everyone. All right, let's see what Wayne has to say. Hey, Wayne, thanks for joining us. I'm just about to start conversations with individuals who helped my younger brother become a first-time home buyer. I've been renting since 2005. So yes, it's time. It's time. Was that 17 years? So yeah, make sure I'm getting that right. Yes, let's get that house this year. All right, so go ahead and put your questions in the chat. This will be open to questions, but I'm going to start off with what I recommend your strategy to be. And then if you have any questions about my strategy, then go ahead and put those in the comments as well. So this is my first one. There's 3 steps to this strategy. So number 1 is complete mortgage application before 2023. And this is why I am recommending this. A lot of potential first-time home buyers are so afraid of doing the mortgage application. They're never, they don't know where they stand. So they're kind of moving blindly. So I really don't care. Say your credit's a 400 and you won't qualify. I don't have a problem with you doing an application, have the lender telling you that and saying, you know what, if you get your credit up to a 640, you would qualify for 300,000. At least you will know that information because a lot of you have no information. So I don't care if you want to buy a house in August of 2023. I'm recommending that you do your application now because that will help you strategize and make goals for 2023 without just randomly doing it. So if credit needs to be improved, what exactly does your credit need to be? Your lender can tell you that. They can say, you're here now. In order to get like the best rates, in order to get qualified, I need you here. So now in 2023, you at least have a goal of where you need to be. The other thing is, how much would you qualify for? So a lot of people are not, they don't know, do you qualify for 500,000 or 100,000? That's a big difference. And, if you do a mortgage application, they're going to tell you how much you qualify for. And based on where you live, does that work for you or does that not work for you? Do you have to wait for interest rates to go down or do you have to wait till you pay off some debt? So by knowing what you qualify for, you can figure out, I have to get my debt down. How much do you have to get your debt down? That's something a lender can tell you. If you have to get your income up, that's something a lender can tell you. So all of those things will help you in that, in that pre-qualification, that application, exactly where you need to move. So credit, income, those are the primary things that you'll be able to plan for in 2023. So I want you to get over the fear of doing application because typically people are like, why don't you do application just to find out? I'm so scared. I'm scared I won't be approved. Even if you're not approved, guess how much information you can get by doing the application. So when you are ready, you will have like, okay, I know I need to get my credit here. I know I need to qualify in order to qualify for the amount that I want to qualify for. I have to pay off this, this, and this. And I would not I want you to ask the lender ahead of time, do they have a credit simulator? If you think credit is your issue, most lenders have a credit simulator where they can tell you specifically, this is like a little hack to not getting like paying for credit repair, because I don't recommend that. But a lot of them have simulators. And in the simulator, they will tell you, if you do this with your credit, this with your credit, this with your credit, this is where your credit score will be. So they kind of prioritize what you should be working on first, because a lot of y'all are working on old stuff that's not really impacting your score when you really should be working on other things. So most lenders, most mortgage companies have a credit simulator that will give you an idea of what you need to, what you need to do first. Like, how should you prioritize the things in your credit? All right, so that's step one of the plan. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions about step one of the of the plan, and then I'll go back. Okay, here's a good question. Should I go through my credit union or find a lender? Just because we're just trying to get an idea, I would say just go to somebody you're already doing business with. So if you already have a credit union, go to that credit union. They're more likely to kind of talk to you, especially if you don't qualify, or if you don't qualify for what you want to qualify for, then you can have those conversations with them. You like, say, you want to be qualified for 400,000. You do the application and you're qualified for 250. And you might have the conversation with them to say, okay, how can I get to this 400,000? And they could be able to walk you through it. So just for the ease of the transaction, when you're ready to buy, I want you to do two additional. So you have one from your bank or credit union, and then you'll get two additional pre-approvals, right? So for this goal of being in a house by 2023, I want you to use somebody that you're already doing business with. If you're already doing business with them, go ahead and use your credit union. So let me see if there's any other questions about step one. It's 3 steps, and then I'm going to take the rest of your questions. All right, so let me see. Okay. Yes. Okay. This is another one. A lot of people are getting afraid of getting hard pulls on their credit. And I think this is not a legitimate fear. So I've done videos, how to get the pre-approval process is a popular video on my channel. But in that video, I asked the lender specifically, I said, how much does a hard pull hurt your credit? She said 2 to 5 points. You don't want to be scared of doing a hard pull for 2 to 5 points. Now, I did a video on my credit. I have an 847, that's my mid score, I guess. 847. If I get I do a mortgage application or can get a hard pull right now, I might go down to say 42, 840. I'm not worried about that. It's the information, because credit comes in ranges. I'm going to get the same interest rate quoted to me, whether I have an 820 or 850. You're going to get the same credit, interest rate quoted to you, whether you have a 720 or a 740. Everything goes in ranges. It's not like, you started with a 650, now you have a 647. You're not approved anymore. It doesn't work like that. So don't be afraid of these hard pulls. Now, I will say that usually the worse your credit is, the more impact it has. However, same thing. If you have bad credit before, you're going to have bad credit when you do the application, but you're bad credit with information. You're bad credit with a plan. You're not just sitting there. I totally disagree with the reason for not doing an application is the hard credit pull. So, go ahead and take that hard credit pull. It generally recoups. If you're doing everything else right with your credit, like you're not paying bills late and that sort of thing, a hard credit pull is not that impactful. And then I have my I have my moderator in the chat. If she could find that video, it's called, what is it called? It's called pre-approval, the pre-approval process fully explained. It's called pre-approval process fully explained. If we could post that into the chat. She said specifically, she said 2 points. Like I've heard different things from different people, but let's say 2 to 5 points. Let's say 10 points. Go ahead and get that information. Okay, so my next step, I only have 3, y'all, is save/plan for 7%. All right, so I think your goal should be to save 7% of the purchase price of the home. So if I'm using this for easy numbers. I know there's not a lot of $100,000 houses. But if you have $100,000 house, or you're pre-approved for $100,000, or your goal is to buy a house for $100,000, your goal should be to save $7,000. And this is how I'm arriving at this $7,000. One is the lowest down payment you can get is either conventional, home ready, or home possible. So that's going to be 3%, or FHA, which is 3.5%. So either one of those, that's going to be, so I'm just saying that if you do the highest, 3.5%. And then the other 3.5% is to make sure you have money for closing costs. Okay. If you have to pay, say, all of your closing costs, if you had 7%, that should be enough to cover both. Okay. Now, when I say plan, So say that there's no way in 2023 that you're going to have the full 7%. Maybe you're going to have 4%. And you're like, okay, then you have to plan. I have a whole down payment assistance, a down payment assistance playlist. I want you to plan on how you're going to get that other 3%. Because as we approach these more balanced markets, these more buyers markets, sellers are more likely going to be willing to contribute to your closing costs. They're going to be more willing to accept offers with down payment assistance. So we're going to plan for that other, that other percentage. And that's typically going to be through down payment assistance. So I have like the best down payment assistance in every state. I have, the top down payment assistance programs, all of that. You need to start looking through those to see, okay, what do I qualify? What are the requirements? And so you're planning to have that 7% either out of your own pocket or a combination of the down payment assistance program and, your own funds, or maybe, just the down payment assistance program. But most down payment assistance programs, you're going to have some money that you're going to bring to the table yourself. All right. So let me see if you have any questions about planning for the 7%. Let me see. Okay. Ms. Amonra did put the video up there about the pre-approval process fully explained. Okay. All right. I'm going to make sure nobody has questions about the 7%. All right. Okay. So great. And my last part of this is improve your credit. So we all can improve our credit from where we are to, just improve it in some way. So I did a video, if y'all haven't seen it yet, putting this up here, perfect credit, simple 7-day plan. I'm not saying that you're going to have perfect credit in 7 days. What I'm saying is I'm giving you what you should do on Monday, what you should do on Tuesday. So then by the end of that week, you could have a plan in place in order for you to get good credit or be in the path to perfect credit, right? So even if you don't, because there's stuff that you have to do back to back, even if you don't do it like Monday, I'm going to do this, Tuesday, I'm going to do this, then you may do it by the week, right? So you say, week 1, I'm going to do what she says for week 1. Week 2, I'm going to do this. And that will get you on the path at least to really good credit. So that is how you're going to plan for a house in 2023. So this will be your last Thanksgiving as a renter. You're going to, number one, you're going to make sure, let me put it up again. You're going to do a mortgage application just to get the information. We're not going to be scared of doing these mortgage applications. You could double check. I want you to Google how much a hard credit pull is. I want you to get that out of your head, and I want you to do the application. Easiest is going to be do it with the financial companies that you're already using. So who are you already banking with? Who are you already using? Use that person. Or you're going to be at Thanksgiving tonight, right? Or not tonight, Thanksgiving next Thursday. You'll be around a lot of family members. Just ask them, hey, who did your mortgage? Were you happy with them? So you can get some, anybody that's a homeowner in your family. Hey, who'd y'all use for your mortgage? Would you recommend them? You can get a referral that way. Number 2, we're going to save or plan 7%, like a 7% plan. And then we're going to improve our credit. We need to be on a plan to improve our credit, and not just your credit. If you are with somebody else, your spouse, improve their credit at the same time. We got too many couples living 2 different financial lives, and y'all want a house, but unless y'all get on the same page, you're not going to get one. You have to get on the same page financially so y'all can, have the same goals moving forward. And I've been married for 17 years, I think. So I'm telling you now, get on the same page. And I've done a video about that too. So, and I share my story. So get on the same page financially. Now I'm going to answer your questions. So before, like and subscribe. So like these lives if you don't mind. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. All right, I'm going to get into the comments. All right, so I'm going to go all the way back up to people that were here early so I can get them. But thank you so much, you guys. Okay, somebody says, KK, hi, Shahida. This is literally my last Thanksgiving renting. Congratulations. We close on our new construction townhome on December 2023. Excellent, excellent. I'm very excited for you. Congratulations. All right. All right, my wife and I will be buying in April 2023 using VA. Congratulations and thank you for your service, Dominique. All right, don't you think that 2024 will be a better time to buy a house? I don't know. Like I'm not telling y'all wait till 2024. We don't know what's going to happen in 2024. So I always say individually, right? Is it in your budget? And I'm going 35% or less than your take home pay. Do you have money left over, once you purchase the house? You're not broke. You have a little bit of money in savings. So are you financially ready to purchase a house? And if that is in 2023, I want you to go out and do it. If that's not in 2020 until 2024, I want you to get out and do it. But let's have the same conversation, that we had with people in 2021 that said, oh, 2022 is going to be the better time to buy a house. It really wasn't. So, and because interest rates aren't going back to the 2s and the 3s. All right, so let's project till 2024. Say that interest rates do go down. Prices aren't going to go down typically with the interest rates. As interest rates go down, that's when more competition comes out. The only difference would be if there's a recession. Like if we get into a deep, and so nobody say, I know we have, technically we just passed a recession with 2 negative quarters of GDP. But if we get into a recession, like a bad recession, then that might put interest rates and prices down. But will you be employed during that time? Will you have money during that time? Because during like the housing crisis, a lot of people didn't have money to buy a house. They were scared about their job. So they weren't like, oh, I'll take advantage of this, right? So you want to make sure you're in the position to do so. If 2023 is your year and everything's lining up budget-wise and life-wise, then go ahead and buy in 2023, but you're buying for the long term. And if things turn more positively for buyers in 2024, then go buy an investment property. We don't have to just say like, oh, I got my house, I can't do anything yet else. If something happens where, these crashes and all, that's when you're going to get in and buy an investment property. That's when you're going to get in and do other things. That's what all of these, investors are saying. Like they're living in a house. They're not like living in an apartment waiting to buy a house. They're saying, okay, I have my house, I have this, but if the market turns, I'm going to go ahead and, grab me some investment property at that time. So if I thought it was going to be better for buyers and I'm not really sure, I'm going to sit with some money on the side, some cash to say, okay, if something happens in 2024 that makes it look much better to buy a house, I'll buy me an investment property at that time. So you don't have to just look at it as like one thing, because again, when people are waiting, you waiting for, people have been waiting since 2020. So 2020 came and went, 2021, 2022, 2023. I don't want you waiting until 2024 to see what's going to happen. Just prepare yourself. And when you're ready financially, go ahead and do it. But plan on living in that house for at least 5 to 7 years. All right. So thank you, everyone. All right, let's see. I'm claiming this, AJ says, mortgage applications currently in the hands of a great lender. I just need to get my middle score up 12 more points to qualify for down payment assistance. So this is a great example of what I'm talking about. I'm saying now you know what you need to do, right? So, you have a plan in place to, reach that next level, and a good lender will walk you through that plan. All right, I have 2 super chats. Let me get this. Oh, L, you change your thing. I'm going to get to you. But L says, sorry, you guys, I got to look for it. L, she's like a number one fan of I'm a number one fan of hers. She said, I receive and agree with homeowners in 2023. I love that. Good job, L. And then I have another super chat. Hi, Shahida. This will definitely, let me try to pull it up. Hi, Shahida. This will definitely be my last Thanksgiving renting. Do you know of excellent realtors like yourself in the Smyrna, Mableton, and Austell area? Yes, I definitely do. I'm trying to think about this. So I will put a link in this video to who I recommend in the Smyrna area. So I do a referral service because I don't take as many new clients, but it's actually my best friend. I've done a video with her before. And so she does Cobb County, which is the area that you're looking for. And her name is Nicole Howard. So I will be sending that to you. I'll just put it I'll put it in the description of this video. So you can click on that, you fill out a form, but that's who you'll get for the Cobb County area. So like when people get me a referral, and I do them outside of Georgia, then I try to link you with somebody that's in that city or covers that county or that area. So good question. Thank you, Spicy. Thank you. All right, let me go back up. Thank you guys for the super chat. So I answered that question. All right, I love this. I said next year I expect to be spending my last holidays not in my home. Excellent. Thank you guys. It says your title of this video is confirmation. Thank the Lord. Don't look at the message or listen to the message. Thank you so much, Shamika. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get your put your questions in the chat. You know, I'm from New York, so I talk fast. So I can get through a lot very quickly. All right, so St. James says, surprisingly, I qualify 200,000 more than I thought I would. Again, a good reason why you should go ahead and do a application. You don't know, like you could try to do, I have like, how much house can you afford? There are, you know, calculators that try to figure it out for you. But until you go do the application, it doesn't, you know, you can confirm it by doing those applications. All right. Somebody else said, that's what I did in 2019. It was a great help when my lender told me what was needed. Those lenders, they're like, you know, credit repair, free credit repair people, I'm telling you. So go ahead and, you know, use them. They have all the tools. Use them to figure out, you know, your plan. So you can put a plan in place. All right. I'm going through, let's see. If your loan gets denied, how long do you have to wait to start the process again? There's no waiting period. So say you did the application in December, like next month you do it, and they deny you. Number one, you don't want to say, oh, I'm denied. You want to have a conversation with that lender to say, why was I denied? It's either going to be credit or income, you know, or your debt level. So either one of those. So you're going to be having a conversation with them about, you know, where does my credit need to be? Where does my income need to be? What debt do I need to pay down? So you're going to have that conversation. And once you work out those things, there's no need to do another application so soon unless you worked on those things. So once you work on those things, go ahead and you can, you know, reapply again. But there's no set time that you have to wait in between mortgage applications. All right, so Arizona Lily says, credit going up has been rebuilding for 3 years, and I finally got offers with no deposit. It took my first one. Excellent job, Arizona. Okay, I think I answered that question. All right, appraisal question. I had an appraisal completed on a home purchase. It appraised 30,000 higher than listed. How do I utilize the equity? You don't actually have equity until you close. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, so if you're buying the house and it just appraised, so say you're buying it for 300,000, they come out and do the appraisal and it appraised for 330,000. That's what I think you're asking me. If that's the case, there's really nothing you can do with the equity at the time of purchase. You can't be like, well, let me get that $30,000 back, please. They're not going to give that to you. You would have to, after, take either a home equity loan out, a home equity line of credit, possibly. You probably couldn't do a cash out refinance because it doesn't sound like you'll have at least 20% or so. But you know, at the time of purchase, you really can't do anything with that equity, if that makes sense, because they're not going to give it back to you or have you use it for like repairs or rehab or something along those lines. So, you know, you can ask your lender. So if you're working with your lender now, go ahead and ask them, is there anything you can do? But more than likely, they're going to say no. Just be excited that your home appraised for more than what you're buying it for. And then you could watch my video on equity and what you can do with the equity in your house. But at the time of purchase, because a lot of people ask this, well, I bought it for 200,000 and it appraised for 250. Can they just give me the 50,000? No, like you have to close on that house and then maybe you can do something with the equity from there. But talk to your lender about that. All righty, let me see. Make sure you have a question mark with your question so I can, you know, tell the difference between the questions and just a comment if you don't mind. All right, so Maribel says, what about if you started a new job within the last 6 months? Okay, it really depends on what you were doing prior, right? So say that you were working, a similar full-time W-2 job and you just switched from one job to another. Say you were working at Walmart, right? And you moved to Target and you've been working at Target for 6 months. Then you still can qualify. Doesn't matter. Say that you were in college, right? And then you've been working at Target for 6 months. Doesn't matter. They'll use your college as work experience. So if you're graduating from any kind of education program, they will allow you to use your education for the 2 years of experience as long as you have a job, right? So, but where it kind of gets sticky, so say that you were doing Uber, and then you started a job for 6 months. You're going to have to work at that job or a similar job for at least 2 years for them to count that income. So you want to make sure you have 2 years of consistent employment and the same type of employment. It doesn't have to be at the same job, but it needs to be full-time and very similar, right? So if you go from a teacher to a principal, they're not going to be like, oh, you have to be a principal for 2 years. They'll just count the principal income. But you can't do it like me. So say I was a teacher, then I became a YouTuber, right? They're like, okay, you need to do YouTube for 2 years. And then we want to see 2 years of YouTube income before we qualify you. Because I'm changing from something that's W-2 to being a self-employed 1099. So just know that it really depends on what you were doing prior to this new 6-month position. Okay, good question. All right, thank you so much. Hey, Christina Smallhorn. Thank you for visiting me on Thursdays. I really appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. If you're not familiar with Christina's channel, you should check it out. All right. When are interest rates going to be lowered? Okay, so last week the new CPI numbers came out, which is the Consumer Price Index. Because remember, the Fed, if you watch any of my videos, the Fed is increasing interest rates to get inflation down. And so the last CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, that shows where inflation is. So inflation was lower than they estimated it was going to be. So interest rates went back down. Okay. So they went down from low 7s to higher 6s. So we're going to have to get to a point where inflation comes down and interest rates will typically come down with the inflation numbers. But again, that's like, if they feel like inflation is not coming down enough, they may increase more. So you have to kind of just watch. A lot of people are saying that maybe in the, after maybe June or so, you may see rates back into the 5s, but you may not see that many price reductions that go along with that. So you just want to watch the market, watch what the Fed does. The Fed meets again, the Federal Reserve. They meet again in December. So they're probably going to increase interest rates. It's a matter of how much they're going to increase them. So that's like the big deal, is how much will they increase them in December. So stay tuned for that. All right. So I got another super chat. She didn't ask a question, but I think she just wants to put on here. So let me try to find where she is. Okay. And I'm going to come back to another one if I'm missing yours. Okay. NP budgets to perfection. So thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right. I'm going back up, you guys. Going back up. Okay. So, okay. Definitely put your questions in the chat. I'm just trying to find where I was before. All right. Okay. Good. Can I use 401k money? Yes. So you could use money from your 401k. During the pandemic, there were no penalties for this, for pulling money out of your 401k. You want to ask your program administrator, whoever's, over your 401k, your Roth IRA, what are penalties, if any, with taking your money out of your retirement accounts to use them toward your home purchase. Like the Roth IRA, they have a provision for a home purchase. I'm not sure if 401ks do. So you want to make sure you're in conversation with your program administrator. What are the penalties for taking money out of your 401k, your Roth IRA, or any limits to buy a home? And I would say this as well. you have to think kind of long term how much, because the money that you're taking out of your retirement is money that can't grow within your retirement. So just kind of do that math. Is it easier for you to save that 7% outside of your retirement account versus pulling money from your retirement account? So just think about that before you make that decision. But I know a lot of people were doing that over the pandemic because they were because of the emergency of the pandemic. They reduced some of the penalties or eliminated some of the penalties of withdrawing money from your 401k. All righty, okay. Let me see. Hi, Amory. Hey, Shahida, I applied with the lender. Interest rates rose too high, and that's just not the lender. That's interest rates are going up. I stopped looking. When I go back to look again, am I to do another application with them if it's over 3 months? Okay. So typically all pre-approvals come with a limit. So it might be 90 days, 120 days that pre-approval is good for. When that pre-approval expires, you can, update it, like contact the lender and say, I want to update my pre-approval. I'm about to start shopping for a house and this one expired. Typically, all they really want you to do is as long as you have no job changes or anything like that, they'll probably just tell you they'll want to rerun your credit to see if anything has changed in that way. They may ask you for some updated pay stubs or updated bank statements, but you can just update what they already have. You don't have to start from scratch. So, and every lender has a different amount of updates that they want, but typical is them rerunning your credit, them asking for updated pay stubs and updated bank statements. But you don't have to do an entire new application. But good question. Okay. Thank you everyone for being on the live with me. Thank you. Please hit the like button. I appreciate that. It helps the algorithm and all of that kind of stuff. Thank you so much, Rita. All right, let's see what this is. Okay. So I missed some of the live. Did she say we should get a pre-approval now just to see our ads? Yes, I did say that. So I said, I want you to do a pre-approval now so you know where you stand going into 2023 so you can have a plan in place to buy your house. So yes, thank you, Life with Yay. All righty. Thank you, KK. Thank you for the super chat. I am closing on December 21st. Thanks for watching all of your videos. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you for sticking with me, for watching my videos, for giving me good feedback, things I can improve on, videos you want to see. You really helped me grow my channel and improve my content based on the things that you guys needed through your home buying process. So thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your home buying journey. Congratulations. All right, so let's see. All right, do new house builders give closing cost assistance? Yes, typically they do, but they usually tie it to using their preferred lender. So a lot of times they'll offer a certain amount toward your closing costs if you use their preferred lender. A lot of times the lender is putting some money toward the closing costs and the builder is putting some money toward the closing costs. So you are, that's their benefit. And the other thing is, once you agree to use their lender in order to get the closing costs, then that lender typically can communicate with the builder about your pre-approval. And that's why they want to keep you as tight as possible with them. So the lender may say, how is their credit looking? How's everything going? Are they still good? Whatever. They can't do that with an outside lender because that outside lender has to get your permission to communicate with that builder. So they like to keep everything in-house to know, okay, this person is really good. Their pre-approval is legitimate. They're, a good financially, and they can get that from their pre-approval lender, their lenders. But outside lenders, they can't get that information because they can't share that information with an outside party without your consent. So that's why, a lot of different reasons, but all of the incentives are typically tied to you using one of their lenders. So I always recommend that if you're doing new construction, You're going to do one pre-approval with one of their preferred lenders, and then do another pre-approval with an outside lender so you can compare. Because, what if they're just giving you a higher interest rate in order to give you the closing costs, right? So you don't know. You want to have something to compare what they're offering you to, because too often people go into new construction and the only quote they ever get is from the preferred lender. So they never know if that was a good quote. They're just so excited to get the closing cost assistance. They're not thinking long term to say, okay, I'm giving you $5,000, but over the long term, you paid $30,000 more for this loan to get that $5,000. So you just want to be able to compare those two things. Good question, Life Planner. Okay, I think I already answered this question, but he said Boogie Down Bronx. So I'm like, I saw that again. Good job. Okay, Darius says, do you think the projection by Freddie Mac of the 4.5, 5.5 is a good guess? Now, and because Freddie Mac, and I think they're saying like the end of 2023, or like they're saying like the third or fourth quarter. Maybe they didn't project this 7% though. That's the only reason that I'm not saying that they're, so accurate, because the beginning of this year, they projected like 5% or so, and it's 7%, high sixes. So they adjust as the economy changes. So I'm not going to say this is a definite, but you can look toward that as to say maybe, right? But a lot of people I don't think very few people, if any, projected that rates would be at 7% in October. You could go back and look at some of the projections that they made prior. So that's my only, reason I'm hopeful that will happen, that interest rates will get back into that range, but you can't, plan on it, right? Thank you for that question. All right, let me see what else we have. All right, so good. Let me see. How long should I wait to purchase a car if I'm looking to purchase a home? I'll say I really want you to do so. Priority wise, house first, then car. House first, then car. I read somewhere that the average car payment is like $700 now. Okay, so I want you to think of that with your debt to income ratio. And I'm not saying you're going that high, but if you had a car payment like that, say that you would have qualified for $2,000 in your mortgage payment, but now you qualify for $1,300 because you have a car, right? So I really want you to prioritize your house and then say, okay, what kind of car can I get? I'm not a big fan of car payments, like those 7-year car payments. But you want to make sure you're getting something very affordable. If you can pay cash, but prioritize your house. Like make sure that you should be asking what kind of house can I afford? And then now what kind of house can I afford? So prioritize your house, then the car. Do your debt to income ratio. Can you afford a house without any car payment? So I'm assuming you don't have a car yet. So I want you to do your house without any kind of car payment, or you already have a car that's paid for, right? And say, okay, I'll qualify for this without a car payment. And then say, okay, if I did, whatever kind of car you're thinking about, what kind of house would I qualify for? Car payments, it used to be student loans, but now they kind of adjusted the student loans. They're taking more income-based payments. But now car payments are one of the major things that stop people from, you may qualify, but you're not going to qualify for what you thought you were going to qualify for, because you don't understand how much that debt to income ratio matters. A lot of people say, well, I'm paying, $1,700 in rent. But when you go do your mortgage, they're like, oh, you only qualify for $1,200, because your rent is not looking at your debt to income ratio. Typically, they're not saying, oh, you have a car. But when you buy a house, they're looking at all of that. So just be mindful of that before you buy. Hello. Okay, I think I'm keeping on going. Okay, I'm skipping. I'm looking through quickly again. Make sure you have a question mark by your question. You don't have to put it in all caps, but I'm scanning for questions with question marks. Okay. All right, so she gave me 5 question marks. What if I start an additional job? Will that count as income? No. If you have a part-time job, that will not, unless you've worked at that part-time job for 2 years, they probably are not going to count that income. So if you're doing a part-time job, let that go toward, you saving that for your down payment, you're saving that for your closing costs, you're using that for your savings. But usually lenders, unless you've done whatever you're doing for at least 2 years, they're not going to count that income toward your, approval amount. So, but excellent question. All righty. Okay, so how will the student loan forgiveness ruling impact getting a mortgage since it would be seen as outstanding debt? Okay, so unfortunately, I feel like I'm very unfortunate. You may not get the student loan forgiveness that was promised. Not 100% sure, but going into 2023, you may not have that approval. Looking, how the courts have looked at student loan forgiveness. That being said, student loans have always counted toward your, total pre-approval, right? Because they count it as debt. So even if, unless you're one of the people that only owed like $5,000 or you only owed $10,000 and you were going to have that debt wiped out, a lot of people owed more than that. So they were still going to have some student loan debt. So basically, if you're on a income-based plan, they use the income-based payment. They may use 1% or a half of a percent. It depends on the loan program that you're using, whether you're in forbearance, out of forbearance, all of that. I have a student loan video. I have 2 student loan videos, but my most recent student loan video goes through how they look at your student loans for all of the loan types: USDA, VA, conventional, Fannie and Freddie, because they look at them separate, and then FHA. So that student loan video will tell you how they're going to look at your student loans, as far as your debt to income ratio. So watch that video. All right, let me see. Is there a targeted interest rate that we should wait on before seriously consider? No. You need to target your interest rate with your affordability. Honestly, like if somebody's making $1 million or whatever, they're not worried about the 7%, right? So I think you should target your interest rate with affordability because, say your income doesn't change, but the amount you qualify for will change, or the amount of payment you'll be able to afford will change with the interest rate. Okay. So at 2%, 2.5%, a lot more people can afford a house. That's why the housing market got crazy, right? Because you have all these people flooding. Like at 2%, everybody can get a house, right? But as the interest rates are increasing, less and less people can afford the house, the typical homes that are on the market. And so now you don't have as much competition. So you have to know, that's why I'm saying for you to do the pre-approval in 2022, what is your affordability? Is that at 5%, are you a buyer? At 5.5%, are you a buyer? You need to figure out what that is for yourself. And then when rates get there, then you may want to make a move. But you can't say, well, I'm going to wait for rates to be at 3%. They may never be at 3% again. Okay. But what's going to be more probable that they'll probably be between 5 and 6% as things kind of calm down a little bit in the economy. So you can look toward that. Okay. Good question. All right. Do you have to disclose all of your accounts? Hi, Maxine. Sorry, I'm running through these. Do you have to disclose all of your accounts to your lender when applying for a mortgage loan? What will happen if you do not and the underwriter discover that you have more accounts? Okay. This is my answer to this question. The answer is no. You do not have to disclose. And what she's saying is, say that you apply for a mortgage and they ask you for your bank statements and you give them like 2. You give them your checking account and savings account. But in some other accounts, say you have multiple savings accounts, in different places. Okay. You only need to provide them with enough to qualify. So they don't need to know about everything else, right? However, you can't do this. You can't just give them your checking and your savings account. And then when it's time for you to fund your down payment, you take money from another account that you didn't originally disclose. That's going to be a problem with underwriting. So if you have accounts that you plan on using to fund your loan, give them those accounts. So any accounts that you plan on using to fund your loan, give them those accounts. If you plan on pulling money from your 401k, you're going to give them the 401k information. If you're planning on using your checking account, your savings account, give them that information, because what becomes a problem is you getting money, because they want to make sure that you're not getting money from other sources funding your down payment. They're assuming that you are funding your own down payment, and that's a problem. Those are major red flags if you don't have your own down payment money. If you're getting, say, money from your parents or other family members, you have to document those as gift funds. And so that's why they're very specific as to any accounts that you are using to fund, your home purchase. You need to give them all of them. The only exception to this is if you're using something that has an income limit, or like down payment assistance, or some kind of program that says you can't make over a certain amount, or you can't have this amount in assets. Okay. So for example, some of the down payment assistance programs, say in Atlanta, you can't have more than like 10% or 15% of the house price in savings. Then you don't qualify for the down payment assistance, because they're trying to, keep that money for people that need it financially. So say that you try to say, okay, I'm going to transfer this money to another account so they won't see it. That's fraud. Okay. So you want to make sure if you're in any kind of program where it's income based, where it's like you can't be from this amount of income, you can't have this amount of assets, then you need to disclose every account that has money in it. Typically, they exclude any retirement accounts. So if you have money in your 401k, your Roth IRA, then that doesn't count toward the assets. But don't try to hide things in different accounts, because they may see those that will come up. But great question. All right, I think I have another super chat, and I'm gonna get through a lot of these. Okay, let's see. Sam. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Can you stop your realtor from coming to closing if she is not supportive? I had to negotiate 30,000 off the original price, and she was not happy. Okay, this is gonna be a funny question. That's a funny question. Okay, so let me say this. You can just tell your realtor, because remember, she works for you. I don't want you to attend closing. It is not required that realtors come to closing. Most of the time, realtors do come to closing to kind of support you through your process, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, kind of walk you through it to help you. But the people that are actually closing you are the title company or the closing attorney. That's it. A real estate agent has no, they could wire them their check. They could pick up their check later from the title company, like their commission check from the title company, from the closing attorney. So there's no legal requirement or no like ethical requirement for a realtor or real estate agent to attend a closing. So that's number one. Number two is, like I would send an email or send a text. Hey, you know what? We just want to attend, or I just want to attend the closing by myself. I ask that you not attend. I doubt that they'll be like, I'm coming anyway. Like, or you could tell the closing attorney, I don't want, it's your closing. They're not a party to your closing. Only you are a party to your closing, and the seller, the buyer and the seller are parties to your closing. So you could just I would definitely tell the agent, but also tell either the title company and tell the title company and tell the or the closing attorney. Tell them that you don't want your realtor to attend, and they'll make sure they don't send that invitation, because typically they'll copy your real estate agent on like when the closing is and all that kind of stuff. But if you remember during COVID, real estate agents, they said they only wanted the buyer and the seller. They didn't want the real estate agent to attend. It's not required that a real estate agent will attend. Now, that real estate agent will still get paid. They'll come back later, pick up their check. The closing attorney or title company will mail them their check. But yeah, you don't have to wait for them to, they do not have to attend. And I would just send them, I don't want you to attend the closing, but it has nothing to do about their pay or anything like that. Okay. So good question. Thank you for that. I'm going back up, y'all. I have to find where I left off. Okay. Sam had a whole bunch of questions about this realtor. I was going to now I'm seeing all the Sam questions, but I'm coming back up. Are there any housing grants available? So I have a down payment assistance playlist. I would recommend that you go to that playlist and look through those videos to find which one works for you. I would definitely click on the link for your state. because there are always grants available or programs available that are state or city specific that you can take advantage of. All right, thank you guys. Hello. Watch your videos help me through my buying process. I closed in September. Thank you so much and congratulations. All right, let me see. I think a lot of people are answering each other's questions in the chat, so that is great. All right, I forgot where I was, you guys, but I'm still coming. I answered that question about student loans. Okay, let me answer this question. What if you had unemployment that was equal to your previous job pay? No, unemployment does not count. It never counts. Unemployment doesn't count. Workers' comp doesn't count. Any kind of short-term disability, stuff like that, unless it's permanent, what they consider to be permanent income, it does not count. So unemployment is temporary. Typically, workers' comp payments are temporary. Short-term disability, temporary. They don't count any of that income. So, but good question, but no, they don't count any of that. What do you think about Bank of America helping first-time homebuyers? I have a video about that, and then I did a live about that with an agent and a lender. So, and it tells you how I feel about it. I don't have a huge problem, you guys, because I think what got people up in arms about the Bank of America program was that they were saying if you buy in these communities, but there are really already programs out there like that. They're called revitalization grants, and they're going to they may not put race in it, but they'll put income levels, and they'll be in those same kind of neighborhoods. So these types of programs are already in existence. I think because Bank of America is such a big corporation, a big company with some history of discrimination and that sort of thing, people are like, no, I'm not going to do it. That's crazy. But those types of programs that restrict where you can live, based on the type of money they're going to give you, they already exist. So I don't promote any one program over the other. I say, see if it works for you. See if, because I did a whole video with my sister who bought in, a gentrifying neighborhood that my family was like, why are you moving there? Because it wasn't fully gentrified, it wasn't, up on the upswing yet. But she saw, like, right now, her house is worth more than all of us because she got a grant. They incentivized her to move there. It was a tax abatement. She didn't have to pay taxes. And she's made more money on that house than any of us living in the suburbs. So I don't restrict people to say, like, don't do that. If it works for you, if that program is going to make sense for you, then go ahead and do it. But, don't just say, well, I just don't like when people say, I'm not doing that at all. Like, go ahead and, look through the program. If it doesn't make sense for you, it doesn't make sense. But, the types of programs that say, you'll get more money if you go to these types of areas have been along for a lot of years. So it's not necessarily new. All right. So going back through the question, let me see. Sorry, you guys. Aura, I have an approval, but I'm thinking about refinancing my auto loan in order to increase my buying power. Do you think this is a good idea? If it's a significant difference, because if you say you refinance your car loan, remember I said car loans stop y'all from getting approved, and your car payment goes from $500 a month to $450, $400. How much does that increase your pre-approval? Like, if you think that's worth it, then it might be worth it. But if it's not, like, if it's not a significant difference for your pre-approval, why not just try to pay off your car sooner? It would be, how much would the refinance impact my pre-approval? If it's like a difference of $10,000, $20,000, no, because it's probably not going to be worth it. But because you're going to be paying more, unless your interest rate is going down on the car significantly. But with interest rates going up on everything, it may not be going up. So think about how much more you're paying for that car by extending the loan on that car in comparison to how much more you would qualify for. That's what I would try to figure out before I made that decision. If it's a difference, like, oh, if I refinance another, make my loan instead of 3 years left, 4 years left, but I qualify for $100,000 more, then I might do that. But yeah, just do that math to see if it makes sense for you. All right, let's see. Thank you guys. Hi, Marie. Welcome to the channel. Learning a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Anne Marie, and thank you for being a channel member. Okay, channel members have those little those different things. So again, I'm looking at that too. So if you are a channel member, you have priority for the questions. All right, thank you so much. All right, let me see. We've talked about that question. Let's see, Tanisha. My agent asked me to introduce him to my lender. Is it normal for the agent to be in contact with the lender? If so, what types of information would they normally request? Yes. This is something that they should be in communication, because they're going to have to conversate about, like, okay, what can they do? Are they good to go? Yeah, I 100% agree with your agent and your lender being in communication to put the best offers out for you. And a lot of times I'm in communication with lenders because, to say I have a seller, I might want that lender to call the seller to make sure, like, just say, hey, I just want to, we put in an offer on this house. I want you to let you know they're good to go, that sort of thing. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with your realtor communicating with your lender. Now, let's talk about what they can talk to them about. Now, unless you give your lender permission to talk to your agent about your financials, then they don't have any right to do that. Okay. So if you don't want them to know about your credit, you don't want them to know about, they already know what you're pre-approved for. But if you don't want them to know about, really specific things about you financially, then you need to make sure you tell your lender that. So you're just doing general communication together. But you might call a lender to say, okay, how's it looking? Are we clear to close? How many days? Are they in underwriting yet? You may be asking some general questions. So yeah, your agent should be in communication with your agent should be in communication with your lender. And they should be. If they're not, if your agent doesn't want to talk to your lender, that might be an issue. But yeah, if you don't want them to disclose anything financial, they don't have the right to. Like, they have privacy laws with lenders. So if you don't want them to tell them anything, just make sure you say that. They shouldn't do it anyway, but just make sure you say that. And most lenders are very good about being by following those rules and not disclosing those kind of things. Okay, good question. Okay, let's see. Sam, you don't put that question 10 times in the chat. All right, let me see. What are your thoughts on the foreclosure forecast? I don't think there'll be a lot of foreclosures because, again, interest rates have been really low. It's nothing like 2008. It was very easy to get a house back, in the foreclosure crisis or the housing crisis of 2008. And now they're really verifying that you have a job. They're verifying you have enough money. Most people have fixed rate loans right now. And there are so many ways for the lenders, mortgage companies to work with the buyers, sorry, the owners, for them not to foreclose. But think about it, most people, I think it's like 80% or 85% of homeowners have a mortgage under 4%. Where else are they going to live that cheaply? So if you can't afford your home payment, then you can't say, I'm going to get an apartment instead. Like, you're almost homeless at that point, right? So I don't think a lot of people are going to foreclose in the next few years. Also, at least with the job market right now, they're like 2 jobs per person. So before I let my house foreclose, and if I get laid off or something happens, I'm going to go get another job. I'm going, like, if I look around my city, everybody's hiring. Like, I have a job at Starbucks and McDonald's, right? I'll be managing both of those before I let somebody foreclose on my house, because you have those options out there. So yeah, I don't anticipate a lot of foreclosures. I did do a video on the foreclosure process for first-time home buyers, but go to the foreclosure auction in your city, and that can give you a good idea of what's going on. I went to mine in my city, and one house went into foreclosure, and I was familiar with that house. The person had died in the house, and this is the only prior reason to foreclose. The person had died in the house, and they had no heirs. Like, they had no family, they had no nothing. And whoever it went to, they did have some heirs. They didn't want it. So they kind of just let it go. The mortgage didn't get paid, and it got foreclosed on. But it wasn't because they, lost their job. They couldn't pay their bills. They died, and they didn't have it where somebody else was going to take it over. Yeah, but that'll give you a good idea of what's going to happen in the future. All righty. Okay, let's see. Okay. Elisa, is rent to own a good deal? I say no. I'm not a big fan of rent to own. I did a video about rent to own, so that'll give you a more detail about why I really don't like rent to own. All right, okay, here's Talia. Home ownership across Texas. My first Texas home. If I qualify for both, would someone get both? I'm assuming these are down payment assistance programs in Texas. Just submitted an application, projected closing 13th, FHA loan. Okay, so what a lot of people ask is, can you use multiple down payment assistance programs? Can you use them both together? And it really depends on the program. Some programs allow you to stack the down payment assistance. You can use this and you can use this. Some of them don't. Some of them you only can use one program. You should be asking the program administrator, because they know you're not the first person to use this program. They know if other first-time home buyers have used something else, right, with this program. So you ask homeownership across Texas, are there any programs that work with your down payment assistance? And then you ask My First Texas Home, hey, are there any programs that work with your down payment assistance? And then see, and ask your lender, hey, have you seen anybody use two down payment assistance programs successfully? And then that's how you're going to get that information. But it really just depends on the program of whether or not they allow that. Okay, let's see. Thank you guys for all the questions. Y'all are asking some good questions. People ask this question. This is so funny to me because literally it's a personal thing. But I had braces for so long. I had braces for like my whole high school, beginning of college. I had like 3 different sets of braces. So I'm hoping like y'all liking these teeth because I paid a lot for them. So I had braces like literally, I would say from middle school to college. Okay. So like they should be straight. But thank you guys, because some people put that in the comments a lot. And I'm like, yeah, finally. Good job, orthodontist. Okay, I don't know, Teresa, how long does it take to save $10,000 when you make $50,000 a year? It depends, on your other bills, how much you're willing to sacrifice, all of those things. So that's not a question that you can answer very quickly. I would have to know like your whole lifestyle, what you're doing. Some people, it might be quick. Some people, it might take longer. So yeah, but you could be able to figure that out to say, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice? How's my budget look? Am I able to save a certain amount of my income every month? But yeah, I say yes. KK, is title insurance necessary on new construction? Yes. Just get it. It is additional insurance to ensure. Okay, what you're thinking is, well, it's a new house. Like, what could happen, right? When the builder or developer bought that land, what if they didn't have full title right to that land? Because a lot of times, especially like in southern states where they have a lot of land, they're buying like old farmland and all stuff, and you don't know, there might be an heir that comes back and say, oh, they didn't have the right to that land, I still owned it. That title insurance will protect you from that as well. So there's always those stories about new construction title issues. So I would get it. It's just addition. This is your biggest asset. Title insurance is going to be the cheapest at time of purchase, because your lender is going to get it regardless. So you're going to pay for your lender to get it. And basically what you're doing is buying like an additional buyer's policy. So it's going to be cheapest at closing because you're getting the discount of the lender getting it themselves. So you're not really saving that much money. You're saving, but again, the lender's going to make you get it for them. So you might as well get it for yourself at the same time. Like you don't want to save like $1,000 for like a $500,000 down the road. That could be a problem, right? So I recommend title insurance regardless, but talk to your lender about it. And they can give you a little bit more insight. Okay. What if you have a job, but you're exempt from taxes? I'm not sure about that question. So you're exempt from tax. I'm trying to think about this. It doesn't really matter. They're looking at your income. They're not looking at if you pay taxes or not. But the way they verify your income is pay stubs, tax returns, all of that. So Marie, if you can be more specific on that question, and I'm still on, I'll answer that. Okay. Does overtime count as regular income to be pre-approved? Good question. I have a story about this one. Okay. So you know how during the pandemic, a lot of people were not working overtime, but maybe if they were short, then they would work a lot of overtime. So I had clients that, they got pre-approved with overtime, right? Because say they got approved for 190,000. We found a house for like 180 something. They were really excited about it. And so now they're going to underwriting. So their pre-approval counted they got pre-approved with the overtime income. And it was like a couple, the wife didn't work, the husband worked. And say a week into underwriting, the lender calls and they're like, they're not approved. They're approved, but they're only approved for 160,000. Because he said the underwriter could not count their income, their overtime, because they called their job and they said they don't work overtime that often. So it wasn't consistent overtime. So they're really looking for, are you consistently working overtime? So just be mindful of that. They're going to verify everything that you put in your application. And so I had to get their earnest money back. I had to cancel that contract. I don't know if they have a house now. I kind of started doing YouTube, and they had to kind of rebuild what they can afford. But yeah, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to work overtime for 2 months, get a big pre-approval, and then stop working overtime. They will call your job. They will, make sure that overtime is like something that's standard for you. So just be mindful of that, because you don't want those surprises that come up, in underwriting. So watch my video about why your loan might be denied after you're approved. So watch that video. I give like several different scenarios of why your loan you got to pre-approve, but you might not be approved when you go through underwriting. So watch that video. Good question. All right. Do lenders ask? I'm going over, but I'm gonna try to get to as many questions as possible. So I'm going to go fast. Do lenders ask for credit scores for all family members that will reside in the property, or only the main applicant? Anybody's income that you plan on using, they're going to look at their credit. Anybody's income because you don't buy, say you're buying a house and like your whole family, 10 people are going to live there. They don't care about those people. They care about who's going to be paying for the mortgage. So if 4 of you are going to be on the mortgage, they're going to look at all 4 credit scores. And typically they take the lowest. There are some conventional loans that will average the scores together. But typically, they're going to look at the lowest score for qualification purposes. So anybody that's on the loan, they'll look at the credit. So let me give you an example. You and your wife. Your wife is a stay-at-home mom, and you work. They don't care about her. Even though you're married, they don't care about her. She has no income. She's not paying this mortgage. You're the only person paying the mortgage. You are the only person they care about. She can have a 0 credit score. They don't care. They're not even thinking about her. They're only thinking about you because you are the person with the income that can qualify. That's it. Even if you're married, doesn't matter. Add her to your title later. But for a qualification application, you don't even have to, put her on there. Okay, good question. All right, I'm going down. Let me see. If another entity is paying my student loans, will that count as income with underwriting? Ooh, good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I would think no. And this is the only reason why I'm thinking no is because they're not paying you directly. So they're not going to count it as income. And are they definitely going to keep on paying it? Because there must be something that they're working with, unless, they're not just paying it off up front, they're paying it monthly. So probably the underwriter will say, well, what if they stop paying? Can you afford to pay? Right? So this is a good question for a lender. And to figure out, I'm almost positive it's not going to count as income, but I don't know if they'll count the entire, amount into your debt to income ratio. But whatever situation you have as to why they're paying, say it's with your job, like they're paying it with a job, then they say, well, if you leave that job, they're not going to pay anymore. So they want to make sure that you can still afford the mortgage and that student loan payment. But that's a very good question for a lender. I would ask them now. Okay. I'm not going to answer this specific question. Moving to New York, 200,000 in Georgia right now is a challenge. Not impossible. It's just going to be a challenge. I'm not that familiar with that city either. So I would just look on Zillow and see, like, for that city, how much are the homes in that area? I would ask that. Okay, thank you guys. Let me see. Is this a good time? Yes. Ask the sellers, when you get to a balanced market and you get to a buyer's market, yes, you're asking for closing costs. You're asking for a price reduction. This is a time to ask for that stuff because they don't have as many buyers trying to buy their property. It wasn't the time to ask for it when they had 20 buyers and you're like, I want $10,000. They're like, bye. I can get one of these other 19 people they're not asking for anything. But if you're the only one, or you and one other person are the only two people that want their house, ask for what you need. I have a video coming out about that, about what you should be asking for in a balanced market or a buyer's market. Good question. All right, I have a super chat. I'm gonna get that. Okay. What is your advice for buying a home with family? I'm 33 and considering buying a home with siblings. I had to turn around with this one. Okay. Number one, I have a video about buying a house with other people. It's called multi-generational living, this is not multi-generational necessarily, but it goes over what you should think about buying a house with siblings. I wouldn't do this without a legal contract in place, separate from the home contract, about what would happen. Because please believe somebody leaving, especially if you're going to live together, somebody's going to get married and they want to get off that mortgage because they need to buy their own house now. Somebody's going to get tired of somebody and say, I'm not paying anymore. When you're dealing with multiple people and multiple lives, don't assume that everybody's always going to have the same goals and desires, right? So you have to put things in place legally. I don't care if it's your family, you put things in place legally. This is what happens if this person wants to leave, or if anybody wants to leave the agreement, how they can leave. Because if you get into a situation where the three of you cannot, I don't know how many of there are you. If you get in a situation where all of you cannot agree, guess what happens? They go to court, and either you have to buy the other people out if you want to keep the house, or the judge is probably going to say, well, sell the house and split the equity, split whatever the proceeds are, because you cannot agree. So you want to get in front of that, meet with a real estate attorney, like all y'all, say the consultation costs $500 for 30 minutes. You all need to put that money in, meet with a real estate attorney and say, okay, what is the best way for us to structure this ownership of the home? So instead of, anticipate something's going to happen, because it's kind of like a prenup, right? Anticipate something's going to happen, because the more people that you have, the more likely something is going to happen that's going to impact all of you. So watch that video about multi-generational living, and it talks about the things you should do before you buy a house with somebody else. Okay. Thank you again for the super chats. I already talked about title insurance. Getting through all of that. All right. Thank you. Let me see. I got approved for 150. They said it was because of my DTI. Can I get approval for a higher amount? Yes. Okay. So this is how you're going to get approval for a higher amount. You're going to reduce your debt. Okay. Because remember, your DTI is debt to income ratio. So anybody that not familiar with that term, watch my video, Can You Afford a House? It tells you how to calculate your debt to income ratio. So either you're going to decrease your debt. That's number one. You're going to increase your income. Okay. Because now you have more income, even if you have the same amount of debt, or both. The other thing you might want to try is trying another lender, because all lenders have different debt to income ratio limits. So say that one lender says we'll go up to a 47% debt to income ratio. Another lender say we don't go above 42%. And how they do their ratio. So you might want to try with another lender, but it's not going to be a drastic difference. It's not going to be like, oh, this lender qualified me for 150 and this lender qualified me for 200,000. It might be that this lender qualified you for 150,000 and this lender qualified you for 160,000. So that's what you have to do. You have to increase your income, decrease your debt. You have to try another lender, or do both, and that's going to help you qualify for more. Or get a cosigner, which I don't agree with that all the time, but that, but that's really increasing your income. When you get a cosigner, that's increasing your income, right? Because you're adding their income to your income. But I really don't recommend that. So do one of those things. Gotcha. All right. Let me see, last Thanksgiving as a renter. Yes, I just said this to myself. Last Thanksgiving as a renter. I love that. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'm looking through these questions one more time. Okay. Let me see. With this changing market, what types of loans can a buyer ask a lender as a buyer if FHA is not an option for them? So there are three main types. So FHA, USDA, conventional, and VA. Those are the four main loan types. So if FHA is not an option, one of those other three may work for you. All right, so I think I answered most of these questions. Okay, I'll answer this as my last one. Thank you so much. So first, I want to say thank you and for everything, because Thanksgiving. Thank you for supporting my channel, sharing my videos, asking questions, attending the live streams. If you're not a member of my first time home buyers group, you need to join that. And also, I wouldn't buy a house. I'm putting this in the chat without my, without my first time home buyer guide. Okay, so make sure you're getting my first time home buyer guide. It's very affordable for everyone. Don't buy a house without it. So click on that tonight and look at that. So that'll answer most of your questions, because again, you need to know, you don't know what you don't know as a first-time home buyer. So I set it up to help you ask those questions ahead of time. What does an appraisal look like? What should you look for in an appraisal? What does an inspection look like? You're going to be able to see those things. So you're not like, counting on everybody to explain everything to you, because you never know throughout that transaction. You may get people that don't explain things well. You can't understand it. They're not, communicating with you well. So you'll be a very, very confident first-time home buyer because you don't know what you don't know. So definitely click on that link, get my first-time home buyer's guide. And I also want you to join me every Thursday. So we have 2 more Thursdays, taking the last 2 weeks of December off, but 2 more Thursdays in December. I'm not live next Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, but definitely, make this the last year you're renting. Make it the last year. And then so 2023, you're buying your first house. 2024, 2025, you're buying your first investment property, and kind of going up from there. So I'm going to answer Mr. ABS's question. Hey, how would you approach new construction that has been sitting for a long time, since early this year, but recently started back up? House prices are high now, but not what initially was advertised. Okay. I'm going to try to answer this as to like what I would do. I wouldn't be in a rush to buy new construction right now. Okay. So we're getting into like the winter time period. Interest rates are high. Builders are not building typically unless they have contracts on homes. So you may, unless it's a very, very good deal, like they're, offering really good incentives. And some builders they're getting like, cutting the price. They're offering you, closing cost assistance. They're offering a lot. Then you could kind of just wait and look to say, okay, what do you offer? Like, go to those new construction builders, see what the incentives are, see what's going on. But I wouldn't be like, I have to buy it before the end of the year. I wouldn't be in that mindset. I would be almost in a wait and see kind of mindset to see, okay, I said the Federal Reserve meets again in December. See what that reaction to the Federal Reserve is going to be. And because new construction builders are hurting, definitely. So new construction builders are hurting. So they're putting as many incentives in front of people as possible. A lot of them, like you said, have stopped building because they're not getting the demand for their homes. So if you're getting into a subdivision and it's a really, really good deal, and a good deal to me is, it's in that budget or, lower than your budget. They're giving you closing costs. They are maybe a price reduction, maybe upgrades, all of those types of things. And you're going to be in that house for 5 to 7 years, then you would think about it. But that's how I would approach it. I wouldn't be like, I need to sign up right now. I'm going to look and see, because if they're offering incentives in November And if they didn't sell that in December, they might be offering more incentives in December, because they're trying to get rid of some of these homes, or first of the year. So I wouldn't be like, I got to get under contract right now. I'd be looking, what are they doing? What incentives are coming? Be in communication with those on-site agents, so you know what's happening. Are they planning on cutting? Because they'll have these conversations with their agents ahead of time. We're going to slash prices in December, because a lot of them are getting toward the end of the year and they're going to do more things, right? So that's what I'd be like on a looking, like, okay, this is where I need to be for this home to work for me, and these are the kind of incentives that I would want to have. And then look at the different builders, because some builders are offering more than others. So that's how I would be approaching new construction right now, because they are in a time period where they need to just sell. And then I don't want to get into a subdivision if they're not going to finish it. That's another thing. I said that in another live. A lot of these builders, they got a lot of open lots, and they may say, okay, we're building, we're not getting demand, we're going to stop building. That could hurt your home value if you have half of a subdivision done and the other half not done. And you don't know if an investor is going to come in and buy the rest of those lots. That's a risk for you. And it kind of depends on price point. But in a county next to me, there was a new construction subdivision. An investor bought all, a good amount of the new construction subdivisions and rented them all out. And a lot of builders are looking for investors to buy the rest of their inventory or buy the rest of their lots, possibly, right? And so if they're planning on using those for rentals, you do not want to be in a community filled with renters, because homeowners and renters don't, because they're renting, there's no sense of ownership typically in that home. So they're not, taking care of it as much. They're not, all of those things. You don't want to be in a community of homes that have a lot of renters. It's just generally not good for your property value. So that's how I would approach new construction, at least right now. So go ahead, get my guide so you're prepared as first-time home buyers, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm putting the chat one more time. And have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great night.